Hey everybody! I know I've been gone for a little bit, and part of that is because I have been severing people's hands on Tumblr. But seriously, I ran an ARG for roughly 2 months, 3 months, and this video is going to be a bit of a technical breakdown on some of the design decisions I made and why I made them, and how things went, and the awesome community that formed around it. So, Um, one day I was just hanging around, and a friend of mine, who shall remain anonymous for the time being, reached out to me and was like, "Hey, can you make a website that fakes that it's down?" And I was like, "Sure." You just return HTTP status code 404 on every page, which just says, "Hey, there's nothing here." And he's like, "No, no, 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 no!" Like pretends that it's down. And I think a little bit, and then I give him a little proof of concept, and then I'm like, "Shit, I've wanted to write an ARG for a little bit. I'm gonna use this." So if you see here, if you go to a not real website, just anything here, your browser will generate a page that's like, hey, there's nothing here. And that page is a bunch of real data that actually exists that you can copy and put on, say, your very own website. So I played a little bit with the templating. This will look different on Firefox, on Chrome, on Opera, on a few others. And if you really experiment, you might even find some extra stuff I did there. Um, but it gives you here a URL to enter with some base64 encoded here. And credentials right here with samusmam and samusmam_1 exclamation point. And if you go to this endpoint, and this endpoint changes periodically, so it's not always going to be the same endpoint, and you enter these credentials, with this being the username and this being the password, you will get to this unwieldy page, which has a bunch of world building and some lore. It's got interesting colors that change based on whether you zoom in or out. Um, and especially notably, if you hit the tab button, you'll see there's a link, and there are other ways to find this. If you hit Control U, you can see it right here, and that will download a strange zip file under the location prayer. And the zip file that you actually get will be called answered prayers, and it will have a file in there that you cannot read, but you can see the name of. And that file is called the background hides much.txt. If you want to use this, you can pop open photo forensics, and photo forensics or any other tool, there are lots of tools, will tell you that there's a user comment with the text "send me an angel" in there. So if you enter that onto the zip file, you'll get a bunch of lore stuff, but you will also get a giant polynomial. Um, and this, I had a lot of fun with this. So initially, this idea had been going around in my head from this Smarter Everyday video talking about Fourier series, where you can essentially turn a bunch of sine and cosine waves into an extremely intricate and complex photo of your choosing. And eventually I found later down the line that I should probably be using a Lagrange interpolation. The details for the purpose of this video are not that important. I don't understand them well enough to explain them particularly well. But basically, with these tools, you can create a function that gives you any numbers you want. Um, and the important thing is that a Lagrange interpolation will give you the exact numbers. It's not constantly approaching the right number. You're going to exactly get the number you want. Um, so that polynomial, you should be able to figure it out without this, but people were struggling, so I added a little hint at the favicon that tells you exactly what you have to do. The favicon, if you don't know, is see all these images up here in my browser tabs. The favicon is the little image next to whatever, so the Tumblr icon or whatever. And mine doesn't load for samusmam.info. So if you try and go to it, if you realize it's not loading and you try and go to it, you will get this little hint for the polynomial section. But if you do wind up evaluating that polynomial at 0 through 72 integers, you will get this string here. And the reason you don't need the favicon is because if you start evaluating it, you'll notice this pattern, and then the 666s drop off, and you get much larger numbers, and that's your indicator that you're done. And if you just isolate out the non 666s from here, you get this little um, string of numbers. And the interesting thing about these is that they begin and end with this string, which perfectly matches up with the word samusmam. So samusmam. And this one was really tricky for folks, but they did eventually get it. This is a book cipher, but it's not a book cipher to the Bible or the dictionary or whatever. It is specifically a book cipher. It is specifically a book cipher back to this file. You have to use this file, and all these slashes at the end are supposed to tip you off a little bit that, maybe there's something going on here. So the 383 here is that slash. 383 here and here. And if you actually evaluate it all out, you'll get samusmam.info slash chained bottle slash samusmam. And I didn't cover it particularly earlier, but if you go back to this initial page and you open this, you'll see there's a little script here, which is rotating the background color. This is how we're doing the funny background color thing. It's rotating the background color by an absurd number that you can only at most rotate the background by 360 degrees and then you're back to where you are. So everything else is completely extraneous. And furthermore, it is using this little n at the end is indicating that it's a big integer. So these can go huge. These are arbitrary size. So if you're using a big integer and you only need 360, something's clearly going on. So if we move back here, we can see we have the same sort of thing going on here, and it's making this nice green. And if we take that number and we plug it in here to something that'll give us anything that's representing it as bytes rather than as the decimal itself. So this could be hex, this could be bytes itself in Python. Here, the community found it with base 64, and then we take that base 64 and we decode it back into its actual text. We get a little call and response sort of deal with that, and this here has a little post. Post as the HTTP method it uses, but this has a little input box, and you can do all sorts of funny stuff there. But of most importance is that when you mess around with it, you can find the word diary and you can find the word password. And if you use diary over and over again, it'll randomly give you a bunch of different numbers. And their associated characters. And if you line those up in order, you will get this command. Then if you run this command here with this password, you will get the final diary file that everybody was looking for. And a funny note, which I managed to skip on this one, is that I use CyberChef for everything. You can't actually solve this one purely in CyberChef. And I opened a feature request on CyberChef because I was annoyed at that. I'm like, hey, there's functionality missing here. So that's a little side tangent. Anyway, by far my favorite part of this entire ordeal was the audience participation. So the way I initially was running the ARG, after a little bit of trial and error on other websites, was I picked Tumblr. Tumblr has a much more welcoming community, and there's a lot of fun technical stuff you can do behind the scenes if you know what you're doing. So I had a little comment bot that would, anytime you posted anything with the word hands, it would comment, I cut off his hands as a trailhead to the ARG. And then the pin post on the account was the trailhead itself. Like that's where you would actually start the game. And this became a little bit of a cultural phenomenon for a little bit. I became a little bit of a urban legend, you could say. So early on, I got this wonderful little comic from someone called Steampunk Fiend, where they drew my little guy. I got lots and lots and lots of people who saw it and then took it as like a prompt to draw their original character without hands, and that got a lot of very funny stuff. This one's from Get More Bald. There are many, many, many more. Someone decided to draw me as Yoshikage Kira. Credit to Bob Sheese for that one. And I managed to get some extremely talented artists. Not that any of these people aren't talented, but like I got this person, Shenanigart, to make not one but two incredibly good David Anon inspired posts. There's more in there, but these two like blew me away. Oh my goodness, look at this. And there was even some meta posting because what would often happen is I would then reblog the art and I would be like, "Hey," I mean, I would do this in character, but I would be like, "Hey, my confession of sin, saying I cut off his hands, isn't an endorsement of further sin, but that would in turn just cause more people to draw their OCs without hands, which had kind of a snowball effect, and it was very fun. This one's by 1,000 Chatter on Tumblr. And there are many, many more. I highly encourage you to go check any of these artists out. Um, Truly, the audience participation blew me away. I have a whole section of a Discord server I'm in where I just post the funny art that people make, and it really warms my heart. I'm so happy to have been able to do this. Um, but yeah, that's a little bit of the tech behind what I did. You're not going to get any lore out of me. That's for you and you alone. But there might be more in the works. We'll see how that goes. And thank you so much for stopping by and watching.